Welcome to the Dr. Joe Student Dating Meet and Greet. Who do we have? Welcome, Jackie. Good to
Hey, how are you?
Hey, nice to see you.
You too.
Where are you? Whereabouts on this planet are you?
I am just outside Philadelphia. Excuse me, sorry.
The city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Wonderful. And we have with us, who is this with us? The Galaxy S10. Oh, we got to unmute you, Galaxy S10. We got Andrew, who's just joined us, and
there we go.
Hi, and who is this speaking? The gentleman with the blue shirt?
This is Juan from Texas, Plano, Texas. How are you?
Oh, great. Your name is Winan?
Juan, J-U-A-N.
Juan, nice to meet you, Juan. Okay, and so we've got Andrew also with us.
Hello.
Hi, and what's your name? Oh, that's Andrew with the brown shirt on, brown with a little bit of green. And we got somebody else who just joined, Aman. Fantastic. So it looks like people are starting to pop in. So I want to go around and introduce everyone. And Andrew, I think you're the one who started the Dr. Joe dating group, right?
No.
You weren't? Oh, okay. I thought perhaps you would. Well, you seem to have a lot of initiatives. So perhaps we can kind of share this hosting platform, because I know both you and I have been taking the initiative and getting these meet and greets, which is the whole objective of getting to know each other. And because we're all like-minded, very passionate and interested, and students of Dr. Joe's work. Does that sound good, Andrew?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
okay.
We're making it up as we go along. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's just people meeting for the love of Pete. I think it's a fun and wonderful thing. Let's see, we have, is it CV or GV Tojoy?
It's GV.
GV. Oh, I love the way you spell your name, GV.
Thank you.
Welcome on board to this meet and greet.
Thank you. It's nice seeing you guys.
Nice seeing you too. Love your background. Very feminine, very alluring.
My back is so much a mess, so
it looks beautiful.
So I'm putting my virtual.
Yeah, GV, it looks beautiful. So no need for apologies there. We got Sherry Lynn joining us and Mary Purr. All right, welcome on board, Sherry Lynn and Mary Purr. Okay, I don't think Mary Purr's sound. Let's see. Jackie, I'm gonna unmute you. What we can do is, if you want, I don't know how much background, I don't have much background noise, and of course I'm hosting, but perhaps we can be unmuted for now unless you start to have background noise. And if you're not talking, then you can unmute yourselves. Otherwise, it's a little too much for me to manage, doing both and having it still flow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was coughing. I just didn't want to.
Yeah. No, I agree. So
have you all hear that?
Perfect. So you've obviously done a lot of Zoom calls. You know the drill.
A couple here and there, yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? I think it might be fun to go around, and maybe we can start, since we've introduced everyone here by name. And just so that you guys know, I don't know if you were all online when this gentleman with the blue and gray shirt said his name is Juan. That's J-U-A-N. I think, Juan, I believe you said you're from Texas?
Yeah, I'm in Plano, Texas.
So you're in Plano, Texas. Jackie, you're in Philadelphia?
Yeah, just in the suburbs, outside Philadelphia, about 10 miles west. Excuse me.
Okay. And then Andrew, where are you?
I'm in New York City.
New York City, the Big Apple. Ooh, big city. And then GV, whereabouts are you?
I'm in California near San Francisco, but I used to live in, like I said in the group I used to live in Houston, near Houston area for 10 years. I just moved here like 4 years ago, moved back.
Okay, so you're in the San Francisco
yes.
Bay area. And then Sherry Lynn, welcome to the group. Where are you in the world?
I won't be able to hear you because I'm deaf. So do I have to type everything out? I heard you say my name, so, but I might not be able to understand anything. So if you want to talk to me, you have to type it out. You have to type it out on the chat. Yeah, I can't
Okay.
hear it.
So we'll make an effort then for Sherry Lynn, everybody, I just want to make sure everyone heard that if there's a question that you have for Sherry Lynn, that you type it in the chat because she's hearing challenged. And so make sure that the camera is picking up your lips really well, I would add to that, so she sees the expression of your face. And Sherry Lynn, do you also read lips?
Yes, I mean, that I can understand you.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that we're respectful of that for you too. So we will put in the chat any question that we have directed to you. So thank you for joining us. It's exciting. I'm going to type here. I'm going to lead by example, and Sherry Lynn.
I'm in Canada. I'm in New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh, wow.
New Brunswick,
Brunswick, Canada.
Canada.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, fantastic.
Yes, in the Brunswick, Canada. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, she's from Canada, our sister from above. So I don't know in particular what would be the best thing for us to talk about. I know that yesterday we didn't have, we had a lot of people in spirit, but not a lot of people physically present at the Zoom call. So I took it upon myself to talk about some issues that I think are very, very important to talk about that we started discussing in our group. And some of them are having to do with the posts that I put. And then I also shared the work of Dr. John Gray, who wrote the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And this particular book is beyond, this book is called Beyond Mars and Venus. And what's interesting about the information here that has to do with not just relationships, but also with dating, has to do with how behaviorally there are things that we can do to increase our attraction factor, because it all has to do with balancing our hormones, and that men and women biologically, we do need each other. It's not just in the human world, you know, in the animal world and the plant world, you need a male and a female for there to be balance. And of course we can live without, you know, a male or a female can live without the other, but to have optimal health and well-being and to have, you know, longevity and balance, we need each other. So he talks about in the book, he has all the research, you know, from UCLA, there's a university in Japan that also has a lot of biology that talks about the levels of testosterone in a male and also the estrogen level in a female, how a male has to have 20 to 50 times more testosterone than a female in order for there to be attraction. And with more women in the workforce, you know, for the last 50 years, since the 60s, women have been, you know, more prevalent in the workforce. We've had to, you know, we're in sales jobs, banking jobs, insurance jobs, all sorts of jobs that require us to go out there, you know, get, you know, whether they're business leads or you're getting clients, you're taking care of clients, you're fixing things all day long. Those behavioral activities, which also have a way of, you know, there's a certain way of thinking. You're fetching stuff. That is a male-driven behavior that increases testosterone. So if you are aware that you have been in a more alpha female fixing, go get it done, driven, goal setting type of environment all day long, then at the end of the day, because you're aware that you're a female, there are things that you can behave and do to offset the increase in testosterone, bring it back to a more optimal level, increase your estrogen actually, so that you actually physically feel better. Like when a woman's estrogen is too low and her testosterone is too high, the research shows that that leads to depression. So everything could be perfect in her world. She can have great money, great friends, no problems with her kids, you know, family and so forth. And so she has no reason to be depressed, but if her hormones are off, she's going to be depressed. let's see, we have Mikael Lumen. Just joined. Okay. I clicked the admit. I don't see him showing up in the gallery, but I did click admit. So I think he'll be showing up pretty soon. I don't see his name popping up. But anyhow, so I thought this would be an interesting discussion. And like I said, I put a post yesterday in our group, which some of you might be aware, that I asked, you know, are men even aware that women actually need men? Uh-oh, I'm hearing crickets. So let me do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share some of the feedback from, let's say, that particular post. So what I posted was, do men know women need help from men to get back to our female side and to feel happy? It actually balances our hormones. So for the guys that are here, are you guys aware of that?
I was not aware. In fact, if I'd had to venture a guess, I figured it'd be the other way around.
Interesting. So yeah. So as I was saying, John Gray from Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus has a fantastic, very comprehensive book. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of his original book that came out like 25 years ago called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I'm going to share a little experience of my own, because when I first read that book, I was married, and I'll never forget reading in the book about how just changing one little word when you ask a man for something can make all the difference in the world. One way will completely rub him wrong, will rub him wrong and will offend him and bother him. And the other one, he may moan and groan, but now he'll do it because he's not offended. It doesn't rub him the wrong way. And it's a simple distinction. If I say, honey, could you please unload the dishwasher? That's gonna grate on him, because could you please unload the dishwasher? It's like, I have two hands, I have 2 feet. How dare you question that I have the physical ability to unload a dishwasher? Of course I do. That's off-putting. It's like, why would you even question my ability, my capacity? I can do that and so much more. So for you to insult me that way is off-putting, as opposed to if I know that he has the ability. There's no question about that. But if instead I ask him if he's willing to, and I say, honey, would you unload the dishwasher? Well, now it's an issue of will. Capacity is off the table. It's not like his ability is questioned in any way. Now it's, would you? Are you willing to unload the dishwasher? Much different question. Now, when I heard that, I thought, that's ridiculous. It's the same thing. But really, it isn't the same thing. And so as we pay more attention to our language and say what you mean what you say, and realize what you're really saying when you say something, that can make all the difference in the world.
Right.
So what do you guys say in response to this?
Actually, I totally agree on that one. In a sense, that book, it's somewhat, I don't know, this is just my opinion. I haven't read the full book, but I think it's also, it's somewhat connection in the 5 language of love book. Because some men are more on, and agree, it's not just how you say it, it's the tone of your voice, how you say it. Because even as a woman, if you're a go-getter, you have your alpha female and stuff like that, you take care of your family, and things changes already. That before it was always the men taking care, now it's an equal playing field, that women can take care of themselves, that they can do work, they can be go-getter, they can accomplish, they can be a businesswoman at the same time. But when you have, I always, throughout this journey, when I moved back in California, I've been doing this like self-evaluation or self-reflection, And I always hear feminine energy and masculine energy. So for me, I have that masculine energy that I want to get things done. I know I don't need taking care of, that I can do pretty much everything. But at the same time, when I was married, I didn't know about that. I didn't know, oh, the way you said it, like could and would make a lot of difference, and how you say it, the tone of your voice, instead of nagging. And if you say, would you please, like if you have you search on your, as a female, you dig deep your feminine energy and being showing yourself as a queen, then your actual king will come out in place, and something like that. That's what I've been learning.
Well, you know, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I remember when I read that in the book, surely it couldn't possibly be that simple. And I really didn't think it was going to work. So I don't remember the example that he used in the book using the would and the could, but I actually went to my now then husband, and I said, hey, honey, you know, would you unload the dishwasher? And he was sitting on the sofa watching sports. I had no attachment, no expectation that there would be any kind of issue whatsoever. And much to my surprise, he actually got up and unloaded the dishwasher. And I was shocked. And I thought, that worked. And I thought, my goodness. So just changing from could to would, I'm like, there's something here. It's like man language code here. So
Well,
then I made sure that I read the entire book. And then as I was reading the book, I talked to my little brother, and he was married he still is married. And I remember telling him about the book, and he's like, oh yeah. And I said, yeah. So then he picked up the book, he read it, and then he gave the book to his wife for her to read. And so we had many discussions about this. And I thought, holy cow, this is like right on the mark. So it also shared that one of the things I also learned was like, okay, you know, this doesn't mean that, you know, just because you change it from could to would, that now a guy's automatically going to jump up like your robot or your servant and instantly do everything. That's not what the book is about. It's about, you know, when you love somebody, you're willing to change how you communicate with them to be more effective, so that they can hear what it is that you want to either give to them, provide for them, or ask from them. So if the other person's important to you, you're not going to make changes in them. The only person you can change is yourself. So I've recognized that I needed the communication tools so that I could more effectively speak to him. And so he also shared in the book, I'll never forget, he said, yeah, you know, you might have your husband, he gets home from a long day of work, he's sitting on the sofa, vegging out, watching his sports, which is actually a testosterone increasing exercise for a man. A man needs that to replenish his testosterone. And so if you ask a man, oh, honey, you know, we ran out of milk for, you know, breakfast for tomorrow morning for the kids, would you mind running out to the store and getting a gallon of milk? Well, the guy who's like, oh, it's like, you know, I was planning on going anywhere. Maybe he doesn't say it, but you can tell from the groans. It's like, he doesn't want to move from that sofa. He pretty much figured he was done for the day. It's veg time in front of, you know, watching his sports and his news, and then, you know, turn in for the evening. However, those signs of groans, that means that, yeah, it's like he's going to be getting up against him, even though he doesn't want to. But because you've asked him, would you please go out and get milk for the kids? We don't have any milk for breakfast tomorrow morning. Those groans are not in opposition. That means I'm moving against my desire to stay here and stay where I'm comfortable. That's what a man does. A man goes against, you know, he does what needs to get done because he's the provider for the family. He wants to take care of things, whatever needs to be fixed. Right now, the thing that needs to be fixed is a lack of milk for breakfast the next morning. So he'll groan. He may not use words. He might moan. He may mumble under his breath, but that's a sign of him. He may not say the word yes, but that is a sign that he's moving in the direction where, yeah, he's going to go do that. But too many women say, fine, just be that way. I'll do it myself. So now you cut off his opportunity to rise to the occasion, and him getting off of that sofa actually is another behavior that helps him increase his testosterone. And so then, you know, you've got the beginning of communication breakdown. So I thought, wow, you know, my husband was not a groaner, but, you know, you could hear sometimes like, "Ugh," you know, or like, you know, something less than a positive. Oh, absolutely, honey. You know, come to find out that's a positive feedback. And then of course, it's important that we as women, when a man does something for us, that you show appreciation and gratitude, that you actually expressed him, because he didn't have to, but he did. And so, you know, just in kind, you know, you would want to be appreciated. So I think it's important. And I know I really was appreciative. So, but I think that's another thing that women need to be aware of. It's like, okay, he's not required just because he's your husband or just because he's the father. He had a choice. He used his willpower. He did it. Now be grateful when as he leaves to go do it. And when he comes back, oh, thank you so much. You know, I really appreciate it. You know, I know you didn't have to, but you know, you did something that really helped the family.
I have not read that book, but I think that's just a topic of communication overall, right? I think in communication, there's a 50-50, right? There's the person doing the communicating, but you also need to account for the receiving end, right? You're only responsible for how you deliver the message, the tone, the language used, but that person receiving the message should also be in a place where they can receive it. Not always will they be able to or capable of finding or helping. Hi there.
Yeah.
So I think that's just communication back and forth, and I think it's independent of sexes. Really, I think it flows both ways. There's instances where a man will request something of the woman, and it's the same. You are responsible for that delivery, for the language you use and the tone you use, but you also need to account for whether your audience is ready to receive that message, right?
Yeah, you know, and I think anytime you have two people communicating, like here, there's obviously more than two of us communicating. So I have a responsibility to communicate and express to you and convey what it is that I'm trying to communicate as clearly as possible.
Correct.
So as you know, you have a responsibility to not just hear, but to listen.
Correct.
Now, in the feedback that I get from you, it's my responsibility to listen to see if I was heard and understood correctly. And if I'm perceiving that you didn't quite, maybe it was not received in the spirit that I intended it to, I have a responsibility in correcting my language, and you can only hear it the way you hear it and you receive it. As you give me feedback, then I go, oh, wait a minute. It's like, I know you heard this, but really what I intended, let me rephrase it, you know, and explain it to you in a different way, that I'm more clear with what it is that I'm saying. So it is a two-way, it's a dance between two people, or in this case, you know, however many people we have on the Zoom call, where the person speaking has a responsibility to speak whatever it is that they're trying to clearly communicate, and then to listen and hear if what was conveyed came across accurately. But
Correct.
the other party has a responsibility to respond and say, oh yeah, you know, this, that, and whatnot. And what I've learned over the years is that as I've dealt with a lot of really successful entrepreneurs, women, and both men and women, that a lot of them, when, let's say they say something and it doesn't come across and I misunderstood it, they take responsibility for that. They don't assume it's like, oh, she just took it the wrong way. They automatically say, okay, well, obviously I didn't, the way I communicated it wasn't clear. So let me frame it a different way for you so that you understand this is actually what I intended and what I meant and the feeling that I was trying to convey.
Yeah.
Men and women equally do that. So they're conscious of that communication. It's a communication dance or a communication highway where there's a coming and going in both directions simultaneously. But that's something that we have to do in, I think, all types of relationships, but it's paramount. It's paramount in, especially in personal relationships. If you're in the dating context, in the context of, an intimate relationship, communication is everything.
Yeah, it's a challenge like you said, with every relationship. I have two kids. I think you just saw my daughter come in. Even then, when I'm trying to get them to do something, that's where I have to pay attention to. Will my message be received, or will they actually do what I'm asking them to do? If this is not the time, I can't even bother, right? I'm not going to get them to go to sleep right now because they're bouncing off the walls or something. So, but yeah, it's with everything, right? It's the communication where all the challenges reside, I think.
Yeah, it's the communication where all the challenges reside. And it's interesting because with kids, they're sometimes our biggest challenge and our greatest teachers.
Yep.
And as we learn to more effectively communicate, not really from force, but really from speaking clearly, getting their attention, and really respecting them as human beings, and that they have their own dignity. That just because we're the parents, it's not like you club them over the head and you do as I say because I tell you so. That doesn't foster, that's not a good feeling. That's not respecting that human being's dignity. So as you appeal to their sense of intellect, as you appeal to their hearts, and you say, you know what, listen, I'm telling you and I'm asking you to please don't do this. This is not to control you, not to keep you from having fun, but to keep you safe and to keep others from getting hurt and keep them safe. So please do or don't do this, because I'm trying to keep you safe. I want you to see the natural and logical consequence. If you do this, this is what can happen to you. This is what can happen to others. And so they start learning that way of thinking. But guess what? We have to model that first.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in a personal relationship. When you're in the dating world, if you have, a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, the same thing. It starts with you. You can't go, oh, I'm not responsible. Everything is their fault. Everything is their responsibility. They got to do everything. I got to do nothing. No. Well, that's not going to work, because now you become like this slippery bar of soap where nothing is your responsibility. You're a moving target. You're even following your own rules. You're going to upset your own self because you're a slippery bar of soap. That doesn't work.
I agree.
Let me share. I did. Go ahead. Jackie, you wanted to say something?
Oh, no, I was just moving around. I guess it picked up the background noise. Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to read. There was a guy here, just because he wrote a longer comment about this particular post. I want to read this and see what you guys think about it. It says,
Okay.
yes, only an alpha quality, strong, confident, and experienced man knows how to release feminine energy and get them to their female side. Romance, care, support in a strong woman. Understand that the strong women can't express themselves as women and show their female side because of their positions, management in today's society. The men are afraid of approaching these women who have strong personality. They look too weak, but an experienced, strong, confident, and iron man can touch their hearts. So I think this is an interesting observation, because I think there's truth in what he says here. And I know for myself, I've been the chairman of the board for a couple of different corporations that I founded and grew to a certain degree. And when I would go on vacation, when I would, come home, for example, like we had several trips a year that were annual trips with groups of college friends where there are 8 to 10 families together. And when we would go, whether it was to Palm Springs or to Carmel, both golfing vacations, I was so juggling 40, 50 calls a day, all these different clients, wheeling and dealing all this stuff, that when I would go on those vacations, I would not even schedule a facial or a mud bath or any of those spa treatments. Nothing was scheduled. I would get those things done at each one of those vacations, but I never did them by appointment. because I was so tired of booking so many appointments pretty much every week, 5-6 days a week, that I'm kind of all appointment out. I wanted to do, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was kind of wanting to be more in my feminine, where I would do things as I felt it and just go more with the flow. And you know what? An hour before I felt like going to get a manicure, pedicure, facial, whatever spa treatment, I would call. Or maybe it would be late morning and I would call, hey, do you have anything open later this afternoon? I'd like a milk bath or whatever, a seaweed wrap. And it worked out every single time. Even though they're these big 5-star resorts, you would think that you would have to book them even before you go on vacation. No. So I would book no appointments, nothing. And that was, I didn't realize it now. Now, having read Beyond Mars and Venus, I recognize that, okay, I instinctively knew that I needed to do that part of my life without structure and without being so regimented and going and getting things done, even though those were pamper treatments for myself, which inherently increase your estrogen, your prolactin, and your oxytocin. So I know that just recently I had a medical certification that I was getting in Nevada, and another friend of mine she's a clinical hypnotherapist. We went to dinner with this hand surgeon who was also getting the certification that we were getting. And he took us out to dinner, and he said, I'd like to take you guys out to dinner. Do you guys like Japanese? We're like, yeah, we love Japanese. So when we got to the restaurant and we were first taken to the table, he said, he goes, do you mind if you ladies, if I order for us all? And we said, oh, by all means, that would be wonderful. He goes, do you have any food allergies, or is there anything that you absolutely do not like? We're like, no, we pretty much like everything. He pretty much, what an incredible dinner that was. He ordered our drinks. He knew exactly what to order. The waitress just kept on bringing the things that he ordered. It was fantastic. We didn't have to think about anything. We just enjoyed each other's company. We laughed, we ate, the drinks were fantastic, but we didn't have the burden. Now, albeit, I'm sure if we would have said, oh, I'm allergic to this or that or whatnot, he would have said, okay, he would have ordered with that in mind. But it was such a delight to not to have to think about any of that. Everything was fantastic. Now, I think there are women who might say, it's like, oh, well, it's like, I'm perfectly capable. I could do that myself. That's not the point. Now, if you're going to be so defensive and not allow a man to, gift you with that strong masculine frame, well then you need to find yourself a different type of guy, I guess. And this is not even in the context of a dating situation. This was a colleague of ours who was just, he was comfortable in his masculine frame, and he asked us what I just shared with you, and it was just like, it was great. I was able to focus that entire evening on just talking, listening, having a great conversation for hours, and it was a delightful evening. Does that make sense? Oh, we got somebody new, Zachariah.
Actually, I agree, because some women, alpha women, that would agree with that. Hey, I'm capable of ordering my stuff, and I think during these times, and I recognize that as well, that being an alpha woman, we don't see it because we always run into masculine energy, that sometimes we forget that we have feminine energy that we need to take care of, and which sometimes men, that they recognize it, they see it, and I think we have to be aware of things that, okay, it's not because they're taking us, or they're taking our choices. It's not taking our what you call this, our freedom. It's just taking care of us. That's it.
Yeah.
No string attached, in a sense. That
Yeah.
I think it's better off that we women, sometimes we need to recognize that there's some men out there still that likes to take care and protect, right? So and I agree, like especially the women that in corporate, that being in the work, very strong female, they don't recognize that. And I think that being in this what you call this, in journey in development, we have to recognize it. We have to balance each other. We have to balance our feminine and masculine energy. I agree.
Yeah, and I think all of this goes back to, it's like, you know, recognize that as men and as women, we all have to work with each other, male and female, in the work environment, in society, and then there's at home. And then, like I said, there's, you know, there's the dating aspect of it too. And I think that as two people communicate clearly with each other, you express your wants, your dislikes, what you allow, what you prefer, what you don't allow, what you don't prefer. You can, you know, get to know each other, and you can start to, because you have not just an attraction for the other person, but you know, whether you know, there are people who fall love, you know, love at first sight, but most people, I don't think that's the case. I think oftentimes it's usually more something that grows, that as you get to know the person, then two parties, I think, grow in love, you know, with each other. So when you love somebody, you have the motivation of wanting to do whatever's required because you love them. It's just like when you have kids. There are things that you do for them because you love them. If you didn't love them, you wouldn't care, you'd be indifferent, wouldn't matter. But because you do care, because you do love them, you know, you're willing to put time and energy. It's just like your work in a sense. You know, we have, whether you're hired to do a job or whether you were the founder and you created a business out of thin air and started a project that now turned into a business that now is creating you income, there's a lot of focus, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of drive that has to go to make that grow. And so because you're putting a lot of time, focus, attention, and energy into it, you value it. So whatever you need to do to make that thrive and to make that grow, that's your intention. So I think the same thing is true with anything that you value, with anything that you love. And if you love this person, and if you love your relationship, then you're going to put the focus, the attention, the energy. You're going to have the drive, and it's not going to be a short-lived thing that you're just going to do it to get them. And then once you're in a relationship, you're going to quit. Because I don't know about you, I've never had a fruit tree that gave me fruit when I stopped giving it water. If you stop giving a plant water, it's eventually going to die. And the same thing is true with a relationship, any kind of relationship that you have. I want to mention also about, you know, the whole dynamic about, you know, and there's the whole alpha, you know, there's alpha males, beta males, alpha females, or the Amazon woman. And I think that, I think to the degree, you know, our mothers made great strides, obviously, to get us to be in the workplace, you know, equal pay and equal opportunities. And there's no such thing as it being perfect. So it'll never be perfect, but it's still, I think, manageable. However, I think to the degree we saw perhaps a successful mother and father, you know, doing that dance where both of them had, you know, maybe more, like I came from a more traditional male and female role where, you know, my father was the primary provider. My mother was a teacher who actually became a preschool director, but she didn't work outside of the home when I was in elementary school. She didn't actually go back to work until I was in high school. And then she became a preschool director. So she's leading a team of people. But yet, as kids, we always knew. Okay, Mikhail is joining us. Okay, welcome to the meet and greet, Mikhail. Anyhow, so I think to the degree with which you see that operating, you know, somewhat successfully in your own household, I think that does set a frame. And I don't think it's mutually exclusive, because I know that growing up, my mother was always the one who cooked the meals. My father was always traveling all over the world. So he wasn't around a lot in the sense that he was primarily off to work all the time. And yet, looking back, I don't know how he did it because he always picked us up from school every Friday when I was in elementary school and even when I was in high school. So I guess when he was in town, he was usually gone for 1 or 2 weeks at a time, and then he'd be back home. And now, my parents are, elderly, and for the last, I'd say, 1.5 or 2 years, once the pandemic hit, it's the first time in his life where he's been grounded, where he hasn't been able to fly, all over the world like he usually has, because no one was able to fly. And now he recognized that with my mom getting older and becoming more frail, it's like, it's risky for her to be cooking because she's always wearing, summer or winter, doesn't matter, she's always wearing sweaters, she'll wear a shawl. And it's like, she's at risk at setting herself on fire if she's not careful. She really shouldn't be cooking anymore. And as he saw that she couldn't pick up a gallon of milk, it was just too heavy for her. Even a half a gallon of milk, really, they needed to start buying quarts of milk because she could manage a quart of milk, but she couldn't really pick up a half gallon of milk, So he just took it upon himself. He's like, you know what? He didn't say anything. He just started doing it. He started preparing breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And he also recognized it's like, okay, she can't really, the housekeeper would only come like once or twice a month. And now he's like, okay, in between, she doesn't really have the stamina or the physical wherewithal to pull the vacuum cleaner, to do those things. So he basically is doing all of that for her. Now, my dad's a pretty fit guy, up until the pandemic, he was, bench pressing 150 pounds and, running, and, he's very physically active. And of course, the gym stopped. But the point being is that he took on what, Norman Rockwell times they would have said, oh, a man caught cooking, that, it's not a male thing to do, or a man to clean the house. It's like, well, he's doing everything he needs to do and do that because that is how he's showing my mother care. He's he's making sure that she's taken care of. She doesn't drive anymore. So he drives her wherever she needs to go, all of the appointments, and it works for them. So, but I think that's also, when you love somebody, that's what you do. Does that make sense? What are some of your thoughts about those things? Zachariah, by the way, thanks for joining our group.
Hi there.
Hi, where are you? What country or what state are you in? What city?
I'm in Las Vegas right now.
You're in Nevada, Las Vegas, very good. So you're not far from, I'm in here in Southern California in Huntington Beach.
I was just looking at cars down there.
Oh, very good, very good.
Mm-hmm. Most of what I've heard so far sounds a lot to deal with stewardship. A lot of times we put ourselves in a position of stewardship without actually taking on the responsibilities of that stewardship. For example, having a child. If you're going to have a child, a dog, anything that you're choosing to take care of, and or choosing to take care of, like your father has chosen to take care of your mother, that's him choosing to move into a place of stewardship. Of he is a steward over the relationship, just like she is a steward over the relationship. And if both people hold to their stewardship, then the relationship will thrive. And when one person attempts to take advantage of that stewardship and gets a free ride, if you will, that's when we start to run into conflict, in my experience. And
Yeah,
that's my gist of it is, be a good steward over what it is you choose and be aware of what you're being a steward over. It's been very apparent in my life this past week specifically.
so that's I would have not thought of the word steward, but I think you hit the nail on the head. And
Yep.
You're a good steward. When you're a good steward of your relationship, of those things that you choose to take care of, again, you're valuing them, but you're not, again, someone who's trying to get a free ride or taking advantage of or pulling everything they can out of another person. That's not love. That's greed.
Right.
That's greed, and it's also the manifestation of someone who's in fear. Because if you feel that you need to get everything you can out of someone, if you're trying to get a free ride, then you inherently fear that you are not going to get what you need. You fear that you have lack in some way. And so you're trying to hoard a resource, which by definition, that fear is going to drive you to an outcome that it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's going to give you an outcome. That thing that you're fearing, that's exactly what's going to happen, because your motivation is fear. It's not love.
And you're projecting that fear, right?
And you're projecting that. I think oftentimes we project fear in ignorance. And I think one of the things that I love about Dr. Joe's teachings, he really makes us aware in our consciousness what true unconditional love is, and understanding that love really does, in a place of unconditional love, everything is provided for in the now and in the future. And anything less than love, fear, there's so many different shades of fear. But you have hurry, which doesn't appear like fear, but it is. When you're hurrying, is that you fear that you're going to fall short of time to get to where you want to go. Instead of trusting that when you arrive, not only that you'll arrive in time, but that it will be at the right time, that everything will move so that it's maybe you and the other person will both be 5 minutes early or 5 minutes late, or whatever the circumstances are, that it will be perfect at that moment. So now you don't have to hurry. If you're worried, I call worry and hurry, they're the twins, offsprings of fear. Because when you worry, the same thing, you're worrying that something is going to fall short, that there's not going to be enough of something. That's why you're worried. You're worried of this outcome, of that outcome. And that's putting attention in the direction that you don't want. So if in a relationship you're worried, like I thank goodness, knock on wood, I never had the issue of worrying that my significant other, that my husband or my my ex-boyfriend, that he was going to cheat on me or that he was going to do anything bad to me. I didn't worry about those type of things. There are women who are constantly worried that every man that they date is going to cheat on them, and of course, unfortunately, they attract the type of guys that do that kind of thing. But that's bringing negative energy. It's like a distortion, in your relationship, and it's a cancer that starts to grow. And if you don't take responsibility, because that's the one thing, every single one of us has issues. We've all had things that have hurt us in the past. And it's not until we recognize, it's like, okay, I have issues around this area or that area. I don't think anybody expects perfection out of another human being, but what we want is a partner and a mate that will offer us grace and say, you know what? Yeah, I know that this is painful, or this bothers you, or this is a wound, but in here, I'm just here to hold you and cradle you, not to fix you or anything. I know that you'll figure it out. I know that you're doing whatever work that needs to be done, as am I. And I'm just here as that safe place to just love you through it, and just know that in time, we're all going to be fine. We're fine now. It's just that now, as things come up, we're figuring it out, and that's okay. It's not as big a deal as I think sometimes we make it out to be.
Yeah.
So, okay. I don't have any much more to say. I could keep on going on about this particular topic and about the different things that I've learned, in not only Dr. Joe's work as well as John Gray. But is there anything else that anybody might want to add at this time?
I don't know that I have anything to add, but I do have something to request.
Okay.
I'm fairly new to the group, and I'm also fairly new to the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I guess I want to rely on you all to maybe give me a little bit of guidance. So what I guess where do I start with? There's just a lot of content and a lot of things out there from Joe Dispenza, and I just want to know what to start off with as far as reading, as far as meditations and all that, because I'm at the very, very beginning.
Okay, so that's a wonderful question, and I get that question quite a bit, Juan. And so what I would recommend is, I'm going to recommend that you do what I did, which was I started off with the book Becoming Supernatural. And
Okay.
I initially bought the paperback book, which you'll see back here. You see here in my background?
I see them, yeah.
I'm actually in a Dr. Joe Advanced Student book. I've read the book 3 times.
Oh,
So-
wait.
The first time I read the book, as I began to read the first couple chapters, I realized this is not a book that you can read as quickly as you can and just get all the content cover to cover. No,
Okay.
this is a book that you're going to want to read it slowly, savor, reread whatever paragraphs, reread the first chapter until you understand it clearly before you go on to the next. You're going to want to treat this book. I wish somebody would have told me this to begin with. I somehow instinctively knew to do that. And so I treated this like a college textbook. I'm going to master and dominate this information because I want to become supernatural, because I had been hit by a bus. I had a traumatic brain injury, I had a neck injury and a back injury and a nasty scar on my leg. So I was very motivated to heal. I was also aware that I have issues in my past, you know, from my very difficult, long divorce that I also needed to heal, but I was physically in a lot of pain. So I started to read the book. I savored each chapter. And then I think about a month into it, I decided it's not enough for me to read the physical book. I need to get the Kindle version, because in reading the Kindle version, you also have the audiobook aspect of it. So I'm going to show you.
Yeah, I'm a huge Audible junkie, so yeah, I don't. I'm well, obviously single, man, and I have 2 little ones, as you saw, creeping behind me. So I barely have time to open a book, and when I do, I'm falling asleep within the first or second page. So what I've found out works great for me is I can definitely listen, because I can listen while I'm doing sometimes other things. And I know this book may not be the best to multitask with, but definitely I became an Audible junkie simply because I can get all my learnings that way.
So let me tell you, because you've said some of the things that not only resonate with me, but I hear time and time again also with many of my clients. I happen to be a neurosomatic practitioner, so I understand how the subconscious mind works and how the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. There's a neurochemistry. There's also how the energy, sometimes for some people, the energy is homolateral as opposed to it crossing over and so forth. So as it pertains to grasping this material, the first thing I would say is take your Audible book or your Kindle, and as you're getting ready in the morning, just go ahead and you start listening.
For Becoming Supernatural from a
Yeah.
scientist.
So-
and passionate.
As you're getting ready in the morning, first thing, you're going to listen to it as you're getting dressed, as you're brushing your teeth, and so forth. You're obviously not giving it your undivided attention, and it doesn't matter, because your subconscious mind is still getting it, as well as your conscious mind, and your energy as you're brushing your teeth, putting on your clothes on. With every movement, you're making sure that as the information is being absorbed auditorily, your energy is also crossing over. And this is something that happens automatically. You don't have to think about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I would take the paperback version of your book, and before you go to sleep at night, before you get in bed, I would stand up and read however many pages. If you decide, because if you're sitting at your bed, you're going to relax and you're going to go to sleep
Yeah.
quicker. So maybe you might want to set a timer, and maybe you want to dedicate 15 minutes a night, 30 minutes a night. Maybe you want to dedicate an hour. I don't know, but let's say 15 minutes. So you set a timer for 15 minutes, and you're going to read the pages out loud. By reading it out loud, your eyes are traveling left to right, which is similar to, if you're familiar with, you may or may not be, with eye movement desensitization technique, which is
Yeah.
where your eyes go left, right, left, right, left, right. So by reading the pages of the book as you're standing, you're actually in effect doing that. By standing, you're not going to fall asleep because you're alert, you're standing, right?
Right.
Just do that for 15 minutes and then you can jump in bed and you could read a few more minutes as you're sitting down with a highlighter. And then I would recommend not only highlighting the book, but also using these tabs. Just get Post-its or tabs. And as you read things in there that just somehow pop at you, that you know you're going to want to look back at it later, then you start to
Yeah.
put those tabs in the book. And you're eventually going to find yourself getting through the book and really understanding and mastering the book. I do on my YouTube channel, I have a YouTube channel called Love and Money Secrets TV. I actually do a 15-week read, review, and apply of the book. And that's the third time I read the book. We actually go through and dissect the book. And it's kind of like having a classroom forum, because people then, any questions, things that are not clear, issues that come up in meditation because he has the meditations in the book, which then you can record with your own voice, or I really encourage you to go to Dr. Joe's website and get, as he mentions, the meditations in the book. You can purchase them. I did not want to wait to read the book. So when I bought his book, right off the bat, I ordered Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I just went off of instinct. That comes with 2 meditations. It's well worth the money. You get 2 meditations. They're guided with a sacred geometrical music as well that is binaural in nature. And the thing that I want to point out about those meditations and Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is that he, in those meditations, those are designed to fan out your induction field from your electromagnetic field, also known as your torus, which is why as you continue to do them, you start to feel things, in my opinion, in my experience, you start to feel things that you didn't before, and things happen more quickly. He's taking you through the breath and fanning out, you're fanning out your electromagnetic field.
Okay.
So that's what I would advise. Just treat it like a textbook. Get your Audible, listen to that as you get ready in the morning, and then in the evening, just read it standing. And I would encourage you to do the read, review, and apply. There were things that I never did guided meditations until I started reading Becoming Supernatural and studying Dr. Joe's work, because I meditated for almost 2 decades before. But my meditation I was coming more from a Christian perspective, and it was more being quiet in my thoughts, or opening up the Bible and finding a scripture and just meditating on that.
Yeah,
And
I
that
think that's very similar.
That's a different, yeah, there's contemplative meditation. There's that where you meditate on the word. There's a meditation where you're just clearing your mind. And, there's hundreds of types of meditation. So to do a guided meditation,
Yeah.
that was new for me. And then to incorporate the breath, it's probably the most powerful thing that you can do. And if any of you guys are interested, we can talk about that at greater length, but we have a lot of research out of Harvard Research Institute, Dr. Andrew Huberman, the nuance of breathing in your left nostril versus your right nostril affects different parts of the brain.
Oh, wow.
And we have a lot of people in the last couple generations where they have become mouth breathers. And because they're not filtering the air through their nose, so now that unfiltered oxygen is going directly into their mouth. It's air that's not warm because it's going cold through your mouth. So people get sicker faster because they're breathing through their mouth, and their airways get smaller, which leads to people who are not overweight, they start to snore, and your jawline even gets smaller. And so it actually changes the look of your face and the mechanics of how you chew your food and how you breathe. It all has to do with your breath, believe it or not. So There's a reason for everything in the body, but yeah, the breathing is, Dr. Joe spends a lot of time explaining the breath, and it's going to make all the difference in the world, because that's what's going to push up your cerebrospinal fluid inside of your spine, which is going to create a chemical reaction in your pineal gland, which grows your transducer. As you do it, it's inevitable. So no one needs to doubt if your pineal gland is going to activate, if you're going to have, what's needed. It's a biophysical and mechanical thing. If you're doing the breath, it can't not happen. So as long as you do it, eventually you're going to get the chemistry. There's like multiple chemicals he talks about in the book, like benzodiazepine, vasopressin, dimethyltryptamine. Long story short, you will grow the transducer, which is at the top part of your pineal gland. Your pineal gland looks like this. This is an oversized version of it, but it looks just like this. It's just the size of a rice grain. Once your transducer has grown, then you have enough DMT that your transducer will pick up, and you have not only mystical experiences, but you're able to pretty much manifest all sorts of things that you would not think, but there's hard science behind it. It's not just airy-fairy, mystical, spiritual stories. Everything is backed by science, which Dr. Stewart does a beautiful job at measuring. Oh, we got somebody new, Savali Mike. So yeah, that's one of the things that I think attracted me and a lot of us to Dr. Joe's work, is that you have the mystical as well as the hard science, the scientific proof. And he's measuring all of this with brain scans, et cetera, at each one of his 7-day advance events. So I hope that helps, Juan.
Okay, so start with the Becoming Supernatural and the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself meditations. Is that right?
Yeah, just go today. Don't even wait to start. You can go ahead on his site, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. You download that. They allow you, anytime you buy any of his meditations, they allow you to download it 3 times. So you can download it on your cell phone, your desktop, and let's say your laptop. I always back mine up to a hard drive so that if something happens to any of my devices, I still have it, because I don't want to buy it again. And that way you have it safeguarded, and just start tonight. It's a neat feeling when you're first doing the guided meditation, and just know that any thought that you have of, am I doing this right? Is this working for me? Anything that is not other than I got this is not a loving thought. So that's your ego trying to keep you. It's like trying to get you to stop, because it's making you doubt that you're going to ever figure this out. And that's not true, because you were designed for this. You're getting back to the true unwounded, the true untainted part of who you were when you first came into human form. So you're on the right path. So
cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're going to have fun with those guided meditations. You're going to go, whoa, this is different. Like, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, Savali.
I just want to thank you for giving me an idea, because I've been having a hard time reading, and you're telling me standing up reading. I do tend to time myself to read for 15 minutes because I can't do longer. And somebody told me time yourself, but now giving your idea to stand and read, that way I can finish the whole book actually. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. The whole reading thing, I had a mortgage bank and a real estate brokerage, and we always had a book of the month that we would go through in our office. And the one thing, so many, they always say readers are leaders and leaders are readers. And so all of the brokers and agents and loan officers that I had, I always encouraged them to read. And many would say, it's like, well, I can't read. I've got, mothers or fathers, it didn't matter, or whether they were single or not. They're like, oh, I always fall asleep. I don't have time. So I can't tell you the number of agents that I got them to start reading who had resistance towards reading. I told them, take the book and put it in your bathroom. And every time you go to the bathroom, you're going to take the book, and for 2-3 minutes, you're just going to read a page or two. That's it. And they started reading in the bathroom every time they'd go to the bathroom. Some people had 2 bathrooms in their houses, so they had 2 different books. They were reading 2 different books at a time, and they would read it. So they like, oh, wow, it works. You know, they first started off reading only 2-3 minutes. Now, sometimes you can't get them out of the bathroom because they'll be in the bathroom for 10 to 20 minutes. And then they're like, you know what, this works so well. Now they have a book by their bedside. So they might even be reading 3 books. And I'm like, funny, the person who adamantly was like, no, I always fall asleep when I go to read. I don't have time to read. Now they're reading 2-3 books, 1 in each bathroom and 1 by their bedside.
Yeah.
So if you want to do it, you can do it. And like I said, the bathroom is another little tip. Standing, set a timer. If 15 minutes is too much, do 5 minutes. You can do 5 minutes in the morning. You're standing 5 minutes in the middle of the day, 5 minutes at the end of the day. Now you have 15 minutes. And your brain, just remember that as I want to say it's heavy content, but I don't want to have that scare people away because it's heavy, but it's so well written that it's very intriguing. He has lots of incredible stories where you see people with really horrible, dire situations that were medically, they said that they were like gone. And the people are now completely healed.
Yes.
So it's very, very encouraging.
Yeah.
I listened to that when I did I stopped walking. I used to do my 10,000 steps. So when I do that, I listen to audibles. That's what I do when now I have to go back to my walking and I start listening. That's like different kind of that just for him, that different personal development books. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So, and what you're doing, and he talks about the study here and in many of his talks that you see him do, make no mistakes, you are learning new information. So for things that are habits, we have 1,300 neurological pathways of the brain, and it's a deep groove in your brain because, for example, you're used to brushing your teeth with your right arm, which is your dominant hand. In my case, my right hand is my dominant hand. So I have 1,300 neurological pathways. Every time I go to brush my teeth with my dominant hand, that groove just continues to reinforce. But if I do something new, or if I read or learn something new, guess what? Now I have 2,600 neurological pathways of the brain that are firing and wiring on both sides of my brain and creating new grooves. So it's actually increasing my IQ. It's making me more intelligent. So as you read this and as you learn it, as you begin to recall the information and apply it, you are firing 2,600 neurological pathways of the brain. One of the things that I guide my private clients with, I tell them, it's like starting tomorrow, start brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Why? Because that's not normal. It's not natural. Your brain's going to go, oh, wait a minute. We're used to using the right one. Okay, we're learning something new. You're becoming more alert first thing in the morning. You're becoming more intelligent because you have 2,600 neural synapses that are wiring and firing in order to do this activity, which is not a habit yet. As you continue to do it over the next couple of months, it'll become easier. It'll become more natural. You'll also become faster. But the main thing is you're becoming smarter as you do that. So I hope this helps helps some or all of you. But there are things that I found that I've done myself, and these things have really made all the difference in the world.
Good job.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
All
Yes.
right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I was thinking it would be fun to do these either once, I don't know if twice a week might be too much, but we're obviously going to have a different mix of people each time. And I think it would be really cool. There's a way of doing this, but I don't know if any of you know how to do it. There's a way of setting up a map. There's somebody, maybe I can find out in one of my Mystic groups, but there's a way of showing a map where you can see where everyone is located. Because I think it's important for people who are more geographically close to each other. Because I think I don't think we have any two people that are in the same state, do we? Yeah, but I think it'd be cool to, by geography, you know, because it's cool to do these Zoom meetups, but also to have, you know, face-to-face, you know, get-togethers where you go to the beach, you go to the park, you go hiking, you get together, maybe, you know, we have a drum circle here in Huntington Beach, which is really fun. People from all over town, they bring their drums, their percussion instruments, guitars and things like that. And it's just this drum circle and people dance and some people just sit and listen. So it's just fun to share things like that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, so we got to get more people. And he said, maybe everybody, if you would take a second and in the chat, just write in the city and the state, or if you're in Canada, I think you said you were in New Brunswick. Was it Sherry Lynn, you're in New Brunswick? Yeah, Sherry Lynn is in New Brunswick, Canada. Yeah, so I think it would be cool for us to just know where everybody is, you know, geographically. And then I'm going to see if I'm going to, I didn't do it today, but I was thinking, you know, it'd be good to go to some of my other Dr. Joe groups and invite them to join this dating group for anyone who's single. And then, you know, the more numbers of people we have, then obviously the more we'll be able to, you know, just as the group grows, it's just more fun. Okay.
It's nice to meet you, Ash.
Yeah, nice to meet you all too. It's so nice to be able to, you know, the pictures are nice on Facebook, but it's nice to, like Juan, it's like, you know, interactive with you and with Jeevy and with Zachariah and Sherry Lynn and Savali. We don't see your face, but also with Andrew. So to see you guys actually moving in live and not just a static picture, it's just more personable, you know. So I feel like I know all of you much better. So thank you. And it's nice to see you all smiling in this day and age where we're all running around with masks because of, you know, what's going on. And I actually, let's see, do I have up here? I think I have it downstairs. I have, instead of a mask, I have a face shield where it's just clear.
I have that one too.
Yeah, I prefer to wear that because the mask is like, it's hard to breathe with the mask. And I like to be able to see people's expression, their smiles, and their faces.
Yes.
That's the one thing I really miss the most. And
It's harder for me because I have glasses with the mask on.
yeah, I know. And I wear, especially if I wear sunglasses outside. Luckily in Huntington Beach, we don't have a lot of mask requirements. We have some places that require, not all, but some of them, in order to go into the store, you might need to wear a mask. A lot of restaurants, you know, just to walk in through the door, you'll need a mask. And as soon as you sit at your table, you take it off. And other restaurants are like, nah, you don't need to mount. The people that work there might need to wear a mask, but every patrons don't need to wear a mask. So if you come out here, you could go, oh, everything looks like it's back to normal. So it's getting more and more normalized here. Knock on wood, luckily. So
Yeah, hopefully we get there sooner rather than later.
yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you for making this meet and greet a success, you guys. You guys are awesome. You showed up. You're not flakes. You're like, you really mean it. You're like not just kind of playing there on the Dr. Joe, just, you know, no, it's like you showed up. So I want to appreciate you for that. And I love your energy and all. So thank you. You made my day.
Thank you. Thank you for
you
putting
too.
this together.
All right.
Mhm.
We'll do another one. Do you guys like Sunday afternoon? Is that a good time for you all?
I think so. For me, it is.
For me, it is because I work and I have some stuff going on Saturday. So Sunday's kind of slow for me.
Okay, so maybe next Sunday we'll do the same thing. So if you guys, we'll do this by democracy. If you guys all agree, Sunday at 3, we'll do next Sunday at 3. I will commit to doing this as long as I'm in town and so forth. If I'm out of town, then of course it's more difficult, but then I could still make my Zoom available. I know that Andrew also does the Zooms, so maybe he's willing to do.
I do too. I have my own.
So you have one too. Okay, so if I'm out of town and because usually when I'm out of town, I have an event on that Sunday. So I'm physically not able to jump on a computer or my cell to do the Zoom. Otherwise I would still do it.
Yeah.
And I'm, I like to be present. If I'm, at a class or teaching or
Yeah.
whatever, I need to be fully engaged in that. But other than that, for the most part on Sunday afternoons, I should be available. So next Sunday we're on. And just if you guys if you want to just make a note to yourself, I don't know if you want to put my information as a contact in your contacts, but just know that for Zoom, as long as you just go to the browser, zoom.us, you join the video, join the meeting, it'll ask you for the meeting ID. My meeting ID is always the same. So it's that 714-794-5626 number.
Mhm.
So that is the same meeting ID. You don't need to wait for a link. You'll be able to jump on any Sunday at 3:00.
Okay.
We'll be doing that. And that way it's like, you're not scrambling. It's like, where's the link? Where's that?
Yeah.
It's more consistent. It's like a website, you just go to that website, it's done. Okay?
Mhm. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
All
Thanks.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Gotcha.
Sharon, Zachariah, DB, Juan, Savali.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day, everyone.
You,
my
you
friends
too.
and gems.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, one last thing. Is it okay if I put the recorded version of this and I post it in the Dr. Joe dating group so that the rest of the group sees what it was like? There's some people who might go, oh, what was that like? I think this will, if they have any concern, they'll say, oh, it's a pretty quiet, pretty safe group and stuff. So with your permission, I'd like to post it. Is that cool?
I'm
Fine
okay
with it.
that.
Yes.
Fingers up.
Okay. Thanks. See you soon. See you next week.